How's it going, everybody? This is more of an experiment than anything because I have never ever. I usually go on uh 12 hours from now, give or take. So I'm just kind of curious to see if um if there's anybody um on. Oh, okay. Hey, Florida Keys, Amy, Nixie King, Nikissy King. Is that how you say it? How you doing? So Florida Keys, Amy, how we doing? Hey, Minon. Minon's usually part of my night crew. Yeah, this is really weird for me because but I've been meaning to do this uh just to see. Happy Monday to you too. I've been meaning to do this just to see if there's a different crowd that it's more convenient to watch or log on at this time. So yeah, Manon, you are always awake. What is up with that? Manon is in Australia. Um, and I'm assuming Amy's in Florida. Can't sleep, clown will eat me. Oh, I guess that's an it reference. Okay. Um, so yeah, this is like I said, this is more of an experiment just to see if there's anybody who logs on. I don't have anything in particular to really talk about, but I had a real blast last night. If you haven't listened yet, it's still up. I mean, it's long. We had a lot of fun, and sometimes I lose track of time, and I go on and on and on. And last night was one of those nights where I went on for like 3 hours, just yapping and running my trap. So, uh, but I had a lot of fun, and I think everybody else in the chat had a lot of fun too. So, um, yeah, we talked about a bunch of different stuff, didn't we? I don't think I'll be on for very long because I still have the rest of my day to tackle. Hey, Casey, Carla, how we doing? Repping the ATX. What does ATX mean, Casey? I don't know what that means, but cool. And I hope you have a marvelous Monday too. Mondays don't the shitty Mondays don't normally apply to me. Knock on wood. Ah, Austin, Texas. That makes a lot of sense now. Um, but yeah. Oh, thanks for chiming in, Casey, while you're at work. I Yeah, Mondays. I'm usually off on Mondays, at least this month. My schedule changes month to month, but I think next month is going to be the same thing, which is kind of cool. Um, Wait, what, Carla? Okay, so you're slinging slinging fish sales for prisons. Your fellow inmates are eating well. Yeah, man. I mean, yo, uh, I guess convicted felons are eating better than I am. That's for sure. Good for them, I guess. Um, okay. Okay, I see what's happening here. I'm catching the crowd that has jobs where they don't have much else to do but have shit playing in the background so they have something to listen to. That's cool. Um, uh, but I warn you, my language, I'm not gonna watch it because you're in the office. So yeah, it's gonna I'm gonna have the occasional f bomb slip out. But again, I probably won't even be on that long. I'm just kind of seeing what happens. I've never been on at this time of day. But as far, yeah, I definitely am seeing a whole different crop of people here. So I might do this a little bit more often. Oh, Carla, you get to wear earbuds while you're at work? Man, you're lucky. A lot of people aren't allowed to do that. Um, and you're the boss, Casey. So zero fucks given. I love it. Yeah, kick ass. And what do you do, Casey? I always like to know what everybody does for a living. Um, that's always a curiosity of mine. Hey, Pearls of Wisdom. That's a familiar name there. I don't want to say faces because I can't see none of you guys. Um, so yeah, I guess it makes sense that a lot of the people when I'm on late at night, Manon being one of them, when I'm on late at night, it's I get a lot of Aussies because it's actually this time of day there's a 12-hour difference, give or take, in Australia. So I get a lot of Aussies listening to me run my mouth. What's up, Megan? Why are you awake? I guess you could say the same thing about me. Megan was Megan was on last night. We had fun. Yeah, that's another thing. That's another reason, Pearls of Wisdom. That's another reason why I'm kind of doing this now, just to see, because there's a lot of people who tend to not be able to they tend to not be able to log on um so late at night because they have lives. Not to say that people who do log on late at night don't have lives. Everybody has different reasons as to why they're able to log on, but or whether or not. Um, but let's see. Florida Keys, Amy, you own a consulting business, consulting on building and planning matters down here where you live. Also have a construction company and you run the office. Okay, bunch of bosses. That's cool, man. I can't ask for a better crowd. I got a bunch of people who seem to believe in that independence, man. I dig that do it yourself attitude. A big fan of that shit. And yeah, I remember having a 5-year-old that prevents sleep-ins, Megan. I remember that. Yeah, I remember having my son uh at like 2. I would be sleeping and he would just like I would wake up and he'd be on my chest just slapping it, going, "Daddy, daddy, daddy," before he could really make sentences, which is pretty much like, "Wake the fuck up." And he's not even hungry. He just wants me to wake up and play with him. Um, so that was yeah, I get that a lot. My buddy who I live with right now, he owns his own company too. And he does okay, he's it's not so much about making a bunch of money as it is just not having a boss or anybody to answer to and just being able to do what he does um on his terms. And I think that's really cool and admirable. So I respect him a lot for that. Like, I mean, we grew up together, and I've known him. Jesus, man, I've known the guy since I was 13, and yeah, he. Sorry, I'm reading the chat as I'm talking too. He and now his whole thing is he owns a company that basically they deliver pharmaceuticals, but it's legit. Don't take it like that. It's legit. Like basically he picks up stuff from pharmacies, and then they deliver it to like hospice centers and retirement homes and things like that. And for people who can't make the trip to the drugstore, so it's pretty smart, pretty lucrative. Um, and and he just does it for the benefit of just not having to answer to anybody other than his clientele. Um, so uh, you know, so it's just him and his dogs, and he's real happy that way. Megan, yours is beating the shit out of his big stuffed Spider-Man. I had one of those. Uh, I remember I had like a Spider-Man version of a Stretch Armstrong. Oh my god, I've got a mod on here. Look at that. Hey Danielle, good morning. I had like a Stretch Armstrong version of like a of a Spider-Man. It's no wonder why they stopped making those things and selling them, because you get hit with one of those things, man. It hurts a lot. And me and my brother beat the shit out of each other with those things. Um, yeah, it's like a yeah, those things are dense, man. What's up, Scott? Wow, even some of the Aussie people are here. So now you Aussies get to see what it's like to be on my end because it's nighttime over there. Yeah, I'm surprised by the early show too, Scott. Don't be the only. You're not the only one. Um, I'm just. I was explaining earlier how this is just kind of an experiment. I'm just curious to see who logs on. So some familiar faces and some new ones. That's kind of cool. ACG, ACG. Um, Nobody calls me William. Um, but I'll let it slide, I guess. Oh, Trudy, no worries. It's good to see you. Do I know you, ACG? How do I know you? You've got everybody curious. Okay. Are you going to play games, or are you just going to tell me? No. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and rack my brain. Anyway, what's up, Boston hippie? Oh, oh, Anna. Okay. What's up, Anna? How you doing? I guess you've got like a new YouTube profile. So this first year I've had somebody in the office besides me. First major milestone was being able to hire employees. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm curious as to what your process is for hiring people. Um, because man, I remember when I first started managing and I had to give interviews, nobody trained me on how to interview people, and I just kind of like winged it and just asked some common sense questions as to like, you know, pretty much like how the shit do you want to work for me? Um, and and are you going to make me regret it? But of course, you don't say those words. You don't ask that, but you just basically ask common sense questions, which is pretty funny. Um, I remember I was interviewing this one guy. I was a GM for a pizza joint, and I was interviewing this one guy, and it was going well. And we were having a real hard time hiring people too, because this generation, man, doesn't really want to work. And uh, we we it's hold on. Every day sit here, open, close, shit to do. Yeah, I know what that's like, Casey. Um, so yeah, so I was interviewing this one kid, and he was doing well in the interview, and then one of my CSRs, customer service representatives, she comes up and she tells me something that's going on because I'm the manager and I have to be aware of what's going on, and I'm in the middle of this interview, and she says whatever was going on, and then I'm do this, do that, and I'll come take care of it as soon as I'm done. And then as soon as she walks away, the kid I'm interviewing goes, "Man, she's fine as fuck." And right then and there, I was like, "Okay, man. Well, thanks for coming in, and I think we've got everything we need. And best of luck to you. We'll give you a call." So, needless to say, I did not hire that guy. So it's when you're interviewing people, it's funny because they're 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 dressed proper, and they're saying everything that they think you want to hear, and then before you know it, you know they'll slip and say something that'll ruin it all. And it really sucks, especially when you really need people. And you're basically like, okay, as long as you're not a felon and wanted by the law, you're going to get a job here, and then they still manage to screw that up somehow. So that becomes pretty, that becomes pretty frustrating. Wait, so Megan, let me read this. Hiring sucks. It's a tough job. Follow women out to their cars to see some employers follow women out to the cars to see if they have car seats. No hire if so. Wow, that's crazy. So you're saying that um if they have kids, they don't want them working for them. I mean, like, I understand why, but I mean, it's not okay. It's not okay at all. Um, but you get a lot of people who use their kids as excuses to not want to work. Oh, my kid's sick. My kid's sick. My, because what are you gonna say? The child comes first. Um, and but you know that's the thing. At the same time, see, that's just bad business, in my opinion. That's just bad. That's bad for business in the first place, not only because it's discriminatory, but also because I want people who have something important that they need to work for. If I'm the manager of a business, I want someone who's a mother or a father, and someone who needs to get food on the table. you know uh I'd rather have somebody like that than some teenager who's saving up to buy a car, you know? So that's just, you know, yeah, double-edged sword, but not really when you think about it. Boston hippie, it's not really, you know. I I want people who have kids. I want people who have Most places want people who are family oriented. It's good for the image of the business. It's good for the it not only is it good for the image of the business, but it's also, like I was just saying, you have people who have something important to them that they're working for, you know? Um, so I don't, you know, I don't see how that's beneficial to them is to not hire someone who has children or small children even. Um, that's just a small aspect, you know. It's not like drug testing, you know. If I find out somebody's using drugs, well, no. The reason why you don't want somebody there's two main reasons why you don't want somebody who's a drug addict working for you. A, because if something happens, this is actually the most important. If something happens on the job, you know, and you know, then the company becomes liable. If they get into an accident, they become hurt, they get hurt or something like that, then the company becomes liable. Um, and you know, you don't want people who are going to be accident prone, and obviously you're going to be more accident prone whether they get hurt. You're putting your company at risk, but you're also putting your team at risk, and you're putting them at risk. And it depends obviously on what you do, but it doesn't matter. You don't want someone who's accident prone to work for you. Um, and also for the very reason that you don't want some fucking crackhead working for you because they're likely to steal from you, you know, or they're going to be irresponsible, and you know they're going to call out of work, and you know you don't want somebody who's going to be on a bender. So let's see. People working in a professional capacity and have children are thought by many to be much more reliable employees. Right. That's basically what I was just saying. Yeah, and that's Boston hippie. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that's a small percentage. I mean, most people have families. That's just that's human nature. We have families, you know, and you have that small percentage of people who will use their family as an excuse to not work. It's not the fact that they have families is why they're irresponsible. They're irresponsible because they're fucking irresponsible. Period. That's it. You know, I mean, just because they use their family as an excuse, that's not their family is not the reason why they're calling out. They're calling out because they're irresponsible fucking people, you know. So it makes no sense to to not hire someone based on whether or not they have children. That's just stupid. Yeah, you're right. Casey, yeah, some people do just talk too much, but you definitely kind of want to let them talk because you want to get an idea of what type of person they are. You want to see what kind of ambition they have. You want to know what their reasons for, you know, I mean, they could come in and be like, you know what, I want the best thing somebody could tell me in an interview is I want your job. If I ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They say, I want your job. I want to be your boss. That's the guy I want to hire. That's the girl I want to hire. You know, that's, you know, that means they're going to work, period. That means they're going to put in the work. Because, you know, if you're the kind of manager that feels threatened by that, then you shouldn't be a manager, you know, because you should already be on a track moving forward yourself. I mean, yeah, see, here's the thing, man. Kids get sick, dude. Kids get sick. It's something kids do, you know, and they pass germs back and forth to each other. That's just what they fucking do, you know. Their immune system isn't completely developed yet. And getting sick is actually part of the process of developing their immune system. So when you have a kid who's getting sick, I mean, you have to deal with it accordingly. I'm not saying not take care of your kid, but you also have to work, because if you don't work, then you don't have insurance for that kid, and you can't take that kid to the doctor. And you can't do the things that are necessary to properly take care of your child. So, it just doesn't make sense to use the child, getting sick all the time as an excuse to not show up to work. Yeah, see, that's funny, Casey. You mentioned one of your best employees was a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids whose husband was an engineer, and she had to stay at work. Uh, she didn't have to work a day in her life, but she wanted to feel as though she was contributing. Yeah, that can go either way, because a lot of people who don't have to work will be like, well, whatever. I don't even really need this job. So they don't take it seriously. But you get some people that just feel like, if I'm not working, then I'm worth shit. Even if I'm making nothing, I need to do something with myself. I need to be productive on some level. And those are the kind of people that you want working for you, because they just want to be helpful. Yeah, Megan, that happens a lot too. Unfortunately, you get, the dads who just don't want to do jack shit, and it's all on the mom, and that's yeah, that's really unfortunate when that happens. Um, yeah, that's basically what I was just saying, Casey. Is beyond the motherly and household duties, because the truth is, man, if you've got one, two, sometimes even 3 kids, you know, and eventually they get old enough and they got to go to school. But once, most people who know how to manage their time well, they get everything done in the house that needs to be done, and it's done by fucking 10 a.m., and then they got the rest of the day to do jack shit. And then they get bored as hell. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, it's funny. This one guy said to me, I work in a fitness center, and this one guy would come in, and I watched this guy come in with crutches, and he had uh, some really heavy knee surgery, and he would just come in and he would lift, and he did this every single day, and I watched him. I watched the months go by as he would make progress, getting better and better, and just kind of rehabilitating himself to walk again properly. And one day I stop him and I'm like, dude, I see you here every day, man. I got to tell you, man, you're a badass, man. And his whole attitude was, well, the fuck am I going to do? Sit at home and watch Judge Judy all day? Like, fuck no. Come here. I need to get back to work, man. This is driving me crazy. So I love that attitude that people have. I love that attitude that people have. Um, and so, yeah, you get these women who are home all day, you know, doing their motherly duties, but these kids, they gotta go to school at some point, and then you get that small percentage that have that minor Munchausen by proxy thing going on, and where they're like, well, you know what? Just so that I could stay busy, I'm gonna homeschool my kids. And I okay, homeschooling to me, I've seen it work. I mean, technically it works. It's fine. But I could spot somebody who's homeschooled from somebody who went to public school or even a private school their entire life. People who, you know, this is how we develop social skills, by being around other, by being around peers when we're young kids, right? Because I've met people where I'm talking to them or I have to work alongside them and they behave a certain way, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy, right? And then sure enough, you know, it comes out that they were homeschooled, and I'm like, oh, there we go. That makes perfect sense to me now, that they behave in that manner, because they never developed any real social skills. And the only way to develop any real social skills is to be social, and you have to do that from a young age on. You have to know how to how to interact with other people. The only way to learn manners and be polite is by practicing having manners and being polite, not just by somebody hovering over you, helicopter moms, as they put it, you know, and hovering over you and saying, what do you say? Thank you. What do you say? Please, you know, because all they're thinking about is, okay, well, I can't wait to get the fuck out of here so I don't have to say please and thank you all the time anymore. You know, when you put kids around other kids that are learning these same skills, then they actually understand why these you know these things are applied, what the result of them are. A kid saying please and thank you, they learn real gratitude, and they learn why, they understand why they would want somebody to do the same thing for them and appreciate them and any good gestures they do. Because other than that, then they're sitting at home with mom pretty much demanding everything and running the household. you know I mean, it's like a dog or a cat, right? I mean, people say that they own their pets, but nah, man, your pets own you. Your pets do jack shit, and you feed them and walk them, and and change their litter box, and you know these you're doing for them constantly, right? So when you have kids at home all the time, you're doing for them constantly, you know so it's important to teach our children independence by uh by putting them in a situation where they practice independence to a certain degree. They're out in the real world, they're out in socializing with other kids, and then they come home. you know to me, that's the healthiest way. Homeschooling kids, man, to me, that's bad for society. That's not good for society. That's just my personal opinion. Well, right. um Yeah, but okay, Minon, you're saying you were homeschooled for a bit, but your father is an English teacher slash librarian, and your mother is a musician, right? Awesome. That's an awesome thing to be around, because you're probably, well cultured. You're probably exposed to a lot of cool things. Hey, Nikki. Um, and uh, but I'm guessing, I'm guessing that they also put you in situations where you have to interact with other children during this time. I'm talking about the parents who keep their kids at home for selfish reasons so that they can stay busy. Because if you remember correctly, we were talking about parents who stay home and then they get bored once their kids are ready to start school, so they decide to homeschool their kids. Yeah, the social aspects. I mean, how you have to learn. I mean, how are you gonna hold a job how are you gonna function in the workplace itself if you've developed no social skills? People are gonna just kind of push you out. People are gonna be like, this fucking guy sucks, or this girl sucks, and they're not gonna want to deal with this person. They're not gonna want to interact with them at work, not even on a professional level, and it's gonna be a miserable, and nobody wants that kind of cancer in the workplace. People who don't have those kind of social skills where they know not to talk shit behind somebody's back, where they know not to fuck somebody over in order to get ahead. You know, I mean, yeah, I don't want to hear the excuse of giving their child to a stranger. I mean, the percentage of things that happen with giving their leaving your child in a daycare. You don't know those people. You don't know the teachers, but there's a process. There's a hiring process for these people. They have to have some sort of experience with children, you know, and they have to, in a lot of cases, they have to have some sort of degree, some sort of teaching degree, um, or some sort of, you know, mental health therapy degree of some form or another. These people are trained in some way or another to deal with children. And obviously you have to do your homework as a responsible parent. You do your homework and you check to see which places are reputable. I mean, we have the internet now. You can check to see what kind of reviews that these places get, you know and daycare is super expensive. That's actually a very, very valid excuse why people don't put their kids in daycare, because daycare, man, sometimes it's as much as your rent, and that is crazy. And the reason why they're able to charge so much for this is because you need it. you know some Sometimes you're in situations where you don't have a choice. It's almost like having a gun to your head, like either pay this or be fucked you know um yeah, I mean, and one of the reasons why my job stands out amongst our competitors. A lot of our competitors don't offer childcare, and we do offer childcare. So that's the thing, and it just comes with your membership. So a lot of parents are like, you know, this is my. I get these 2, maybe 3 hours tops where I get to just have me time, put on my earbuds, and work out all my frustration, and just, it's their way of actually working out, is their way of relaxing. And they can put their kid in the childcare and just not worry about it and do their thing. And, you know, you can't do that with a lot of our competitors. They don't offer that. Yeah, yeah, it's I agree with you, Nikki. That's a good way of looking at it. Once they're walking, that's about the age where you could probably say, you know, uh, that it's about time for them to start socializing with other kids. You get to teach them how to share. And you can teach them how to say no, and when it's appropriate to say no. That's also extremely important. you know, because they don't really get to say no to their parents. But if they're around other people, you get to teach them when and how to exercise saying no, which is very, very important. I mean, there's benefits and cons to everything, Megan. Everything. Um, so, sure. I mean, sometimes the benefits are hidden cons. I think a lot of the benefits in homeschooling are hidden cons. Uh, you know, like being able to hang out with your kids all day long and them getting to spend time with their parents and being safe. Yes, that's a benefit, but again, it's also a con because they're not experiencing what it's like to be able to be independent in any way whatsoever. And that is important. Hey, Rebecca. Right, pearls of wisdom. Yeah, I completely agree. There is no I don't see the overall benefit in homeschooling. I just don't, and then a lot of times when here's another here's something that people don't really consider when it comes to homeschooling too, because they're blending morality with education. And you have a parent who's teaching things that you need to know in the real world as far as education wise, as far as culture, as far as math, science, all these things. But they're also kind of throwing their own opinions in there, whereas teachers aren't really allowed to do that. Teachers are generally only allowed to teach facts, whereas a parent is going to teach their child the way that a parent teaches their child. um, and that you know that can hinder that can hinder their ability for critical thinking, which is very, very, very important. um, so I don't yeah I don't really necessarily agree with I don't agree with that. I think there should be a very, very unbiased person, an unbiased adult that that is there at a teaching capacity towards a child. I think that's a very important element for a child to have in their life. I think that's very important. And you're not getting that from homeschooling. It's not happening. But and then you have the kids who have hardcore, you know, Bible thumper parents who basically throw science right out the window, um, and say this is how it is, and this is the only way, and anything else that you hear is just plain wrong. And who else are you going to trust more than your immediate parent? When they're teaching you this, especially as a child, who are you going to trust more? Um, so that's very that's not beneficial at all. Um, that's very detrimental, I think. So I think that when you have these parents that again that are mixing morality you know education, that's not beneficial to that person, and it's not beneficial to society. Not at all, because you have a responsibility to the society that you live in to contribute to it productively. And by homeschooling a child and teaching it the way that you feel is just, and only the way that you feel is just, that is not, in my opinion, whatsoever beneficial to not only the child, but it's not beneficial to society. And if you are a member of society, you have a responsibility to contribute to that society in a productive manner. I I think it's yes, I agree with you, Megan. That's narcissistic parenting. Very, yeah, very good way to put it. Because it's not about the child; it's about the parent. And that's not good for anybody. You know, I feel that we have a responsibility to teach our children critical thinking. I've always taught my children to question everything. Always question, always ask questions, and then draw their own conclusions. Um, Obviously, when it comes to things like math, there's only one. There's only one right answer. Um, but experiment. You know, conduct your own little experiments, and then draw your own conclusions. That's the best way to do things, and this way they can they can make things up. They can create that. This develops a certain sense of creativity for every child. And this is very important. I mean, the world is a beautiful place because we have members of society who are capable of creating new things and opening people's minds to new perspectives. I think it's the best possible way is to try to teach our children to be one of these types of people. We want to be able to discover new things. I don't want to be stuck in the same, and I definitely don't want to go backwards. So if you got a kid sitting at home and learning that dinosaurs never existed, and that there's no such thing as quantum physics, or anything like that, then it's God, and there's nothing else. Then that's not going to help anybody. That's not going to benefit anyone. I'm not saying not to teach your child values the way that you were taught. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying anything against religion. you know uh there's nothing wrong with setting that in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with setting that foundation of morality, however you feel is the most effective way of setting that foundation. So if your faith is something that does that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to trap a child in that and seclude them from everything else and any other open possibilities, and which will hinder their ability for critical thinking, and develop any ability for critical thinking, then this is bad. Take care, Boston. Thanks. um I appreciate it. We always enjoy having you here too. So yeah, so that's my rant on homeschooling. um I don't think I'm going to be on much longer either. um Again, this was just kind of an experiment. I wanted to see uh if there's anybody that misses out on being able to be on, because I usually go on so late. But this was a cool chat, and I really appreciate everybody logging on and contributing to the chat. So thanks so much for that. And I'm gonna go on about my day. I've got a lot of exercise to do. Um, and I'm off today, so I'm gonna do some working out, and I'm gonna relax as I do it. I'm gonna take my time, and then I'm going to probably find a movie to watch and chill. Minon actually recommended a movie, so I'm going to see if it's available some way or another. I don't know how. I don't know if it's available on cable. I don't know. Um, but I'm gonna see if I can't check that out. Um, and if I can, then that's what I'm gonna watch, and then I'm gonna chat with her about it. And guys, any other topics uh, that you want my insight on, and you want to hear my insight on, I would love any suggestions for that. So email me at theglarer360 at gmail.com. Um, and I look forward to hearing from you. And again, if there's any, again, I want to know everybody personally as much as I can. So any things that's going on with you in your life that you're kind of struggling with or whatever, I kind of want to hear about it because I like to know what other people are going through. I'd rather that than focus on my struggles and be all selfish about that. So I like to practice empathy, and that's my way of doing that. So I really want to hear from you. So if you got stuff that's on your mind and you're struggling with, and you want to kind of get it off your chest, um, we can talk about it. We'll chat about it. But anyway, thanks everybody for logging on, and I will see you guys maybe later tonight, but I'm not promising anything. But definitely later on this week for sure. And I will try to put something together. Um, Hold on. What's the movie? Minon, what was the name of that movie again? I got to pull up the email that you sent me so I know what it is. I forgot what it's called. Um, I don't know. It was a weird movie. It had Val Kilmer and Vincent D'Onofrio, and I was laughing about how uh, it was it took $18 million to make, but only made $1 million, so it couldn't have been very good. But I'm curious about it. But yeah. But again, everybody, thanks for logging on. Don't forget to email me, the glare 360 at gmail.com, and look forward to hearing from you.